All right. Commissioners, are you ready?
Yes, we are.
And we are recording.
Good morning. I'll call the business meeting to order. Time is 10:30 and all three commissioners are present on January 30th. Welcome. And so first we have some items to note for the record. The Commissioner's Office Community Corrections Board resignation of Karen Pereira, sorry about that, who served as a member at large on the Community Corrections Board. She has resigned. And that takes us to our consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. That takes us to our discussion items this morning. First, we have item 5A, a presentation from the Assessor's Office on the ratification of Commissioner Stolzmann's signature for the 2023 mill levies and revenue report. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Cindy Braddock, Boulder County Assessor. And today I'm asking for ratification of Chair Stolzmann's signature on the certification of levies and revenue report. And we produce this report every year. It is for you to use to review mill levies and revenues for all the districts in the county. And we currently have 131 districts, not all of them levy. And this year, with all the values that have changed, districts were more sensitive to taxpayers, and we had 44 of those districts actually lower their levies. 62 of them kept their levies as they were, and 25 of them increased their levies. So I'm just hoping to get approval of Chair Stolzmann's signature.
Any questions from folks?
No questions, thank you.
I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you for the work you did to put this together.
Thank you very much. Any motions?
Move approval of item 5A.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you, everyone. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have item 5B, the Commissioner's Office Policy Team Resolution 2023-104, the Triennial Determination for Continuation of Rocky Flats Stewardship Council. We have a presentation this morning from Nick.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners. So yes, the Rocky Flats Stewardship Council completes a triennial determination for the continuation of the Rocky Flats Steward Council. So this current determination is for the time period of February 2024 through 2027. And just real quick, the Rocky Flats Stewardship Council was formed in 2006 and allows local governments to continue working together on issues related to long-term protection of Rocky Flats. And my name is Nick Robles, Policy Analyst.
Thank you very much. Any questions or discussion items from commissioners?
Thank you. Thanks, Nick, for being here. I do have some questions, and let's see here. I'm trying to get to my notes in here on my own screen. I wondered if you could talk about, and Commissioner Levy's been the lead on this particular council for us, so it might be questions that she could answer as well. Just trying to get an understanding. What was in the packet was a work plan for 2024 that we received last week in a different meeting. And I'm curious about, this ask is, do we move this forward for another 3-year term? What are the options in regards to one, the county saying, yes, we would approve, what we could approve, but maybe not be involved in the same way. But I see the list of all the activities and objectives and plans for 2024, but also interested in what this group has been doing and how they've been, similar to what I saw in this work plan for 2024. So again, I don't know if that would be a question for you, or maybe Commissioner Levy could talk a little bit more as well. So thank you.
Go ahead if you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So I'd say the Stewardship Council spends a good amount of time with the meetings, in preparation of the meetings, looking at the reports from the Department of Energy. So the Department of Energy produces quarterly reports, and they're the ones tasked with monitoring the Rocky Flats sites. So they look at groundwater, they look at shifting of the land related to the landfill sites. So a good portion of the meetings kind of have those presentations from the Department of Energy staff, as well as sometimes visits from the United States Parks and Wildlife Services. Sometimes they come give updates about the trails, the wildlife refuge. So that's and some of the current activities, ongoing activities, I'd say, and maybe a focus for 2024 would be just kind of getting more public engagement related to maybe some of that history of Rocky Flats, as well as getting more involvement from the community and just keeping them aware of the efforts to protect those lands and keep people safe.
Thank you. Was there anything you wanted to add? I was just interested in, I see a work plan for 2024, but I don't have a good feeling, since I'm not in those meetings and you're the lead, on what has been done with this group, because it seems as though the ask is for us to continue participation.
Well, so what you see in the work plan for 2023-24 is very similar to the kinds of things that the Stewardship Council has been doing, because these are the basic core functions of the plan or of the council. I know just from conversations with other representatives from other local governments that I think we do want to place a greater emphasis on community participation and communication back out to the community about the condition of the site and the opportunities to go on field trips or monitor the site. So I think there is interest in just a little more public awareness of the history of the site, because it's been so long now since it was closed. Just one thing I did want to just emphasize again, that this triennial review, the way this is structured is that, and I don't know why it's structured this way, if any participating entity doesn't continue, then council will be dissolved. So it's effectively sort of a veto on any individual entity over the continuation of the council. And so, as we've discussed in prior meetings, if this board feels it's not a good use of our time to participate, the preference of the remaining local governments is that we approve the IGA that extends the council, and then we can take action to withdraw from participation separately, so that we wouldn't unilaterally dissolve this thing that all these other communities feel is helpful.
Thanks. And are there community members on this particular board, on this council now?
Well, it consists of the local governments that you see. There are two spots, I believe, just two for community members. And there's a spot for what they call the Rocky Flats, is it homesteaders that they call them?
Homesteaders. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is a group, one of the, I think it represents the retired workers that have an interest in health issues and their retirement plan, and another position for somebody that to try to maintain just the record of the history of the site. So they're designated. It's not, well, the two that are undesignated, they're open-ended, and one is currently occupied by a representative of the League of Women Voters, and the other is occupied by somebody from Candelas subdivision.
Okay. And Nick, is there a cost for us to participate, like a financial cost? There's a resource, there's a time. Can you speak to that? And part of my concern is that I'm not aware of what this group does, except that what I'm hearing, we heard in a meeting the other day, and now we're seeing the work plan as part of the packet, which I think is great. I do believe there is a community education component, but I also, one of my questions with previously to staff was, who else is doing that work? And is this the most effective way for us to be promoting concerns that community members may have, and or the county position in regards to this piece? So what is the cost in whether it's human resource or time or actual financial?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's no fiscal impact. So this council is funded by the Department of Energy. But yes, there's time. So time of Commissioner Levy for her participation, and I have been attending those meetings. But I think moving forward, we're not going to be having staff support. Sorry, I'm blinking on the other piece. What was your other question? Sorry.
No, that was it, just in regards to the different types of resource that might be used to be a participant.
Did you, we do pay dues. It's part of the budget of the organ. Did you address that? I didn't hear that.
Well, so yeah, it's from the memos that I've seen. There was a due structure before, but just for the recent years, they haven't been paying those.
Oh.
So it's been fully funded by the Department of Energy, is my understanding.
I would just, you know, as the designated board appointee to this council, I do recommend that we continue to participate, and because I think there is community value in the ongoing existence of this council. So that would be my recommendation.
And then commissioners, apologize for interrupting here. Natalie Springett, Commissioner's Deputy. I just wanted to add to the record, in addition to what Commissioner Levy and Nick has indicated the main mission of the Rocky Flats Stewardship Council is. One piece we did forget to mention is that this Stewardship Council is a forum to track issues related to former site employees, including but not limited to long-term health benefits and pension programs. So just wanted to add that missing piece to the record.
Thank you. I'll chime in just with my comments. So I don't support continuing to participate in this council. So I represent District 3. I mean, we all represent everyone in the county, but I'm elected from District 3. And so there's been quite a lot of community dialogue in our district as the part of the area that's probably most impacted by the plutonium contamination. And people have significant concerns about access to the property. And this board has been a shill for the Department of Energy to encourage further access. Previous boards of county commissioners have expanded the access through capital projects, including an underpass, to have people access this, which community members in District 3, by and large, don't support. Some do. I mean, there's always different ideas, right? But this board continues to promote the Rocky Mountain Greenway through this area rather than seeking alternatives to accessing that greenway and just accessing the site. Very, very recently, there have been high plutonium readings that haven't been completely addressed. There are a lot of community members that have been working on this issue around access and safety and whether further contamination of adjacent areas is going on without appropriate remediation throughout the whole area. So I continue to be very concerned about the work of this group because it really is promoting further access and expansion of the site, which I'm not in favor of. And so I will be voting against continuing to join. If we do join, I would hope that the board would take a position that we don't approve of public accessing the site, and that, you know, rather than take a position that something should be done for fire monitoring, that we actually get the Department of Energy to put up air quality monitors in 2024 to monitor air quality, because we know at some point the site will catch fire and there'll likely be public harm from that. So anyway, I don't support continuing to participate.
Yep, thank you for that. As I went through the 2024, and this was part of my question, because there's a lot in here about what this group is going to do, and I just haven't heard over the last 3 years how similar work is being done. So I just don't have a good pulse on if this is a completely new plan getting ready for this triennial ask, and can this group of volunteers really do all of this work, because there's a significant list of 2024 activities in 3 different sections for both the LSO and then the council and others. I don't know if the community board members are like voting members, or to what degree they actually get to be participants. My question previously, and I just haven't received a response that helps me understand the goals of the work. And I heard you talk about, Nick, today, things in regards to like public safety and you know, just information about what is happening at Rocky Flats. And my question continues to be, is there another another mechanism that public can be informed, which I heard you say, Commissioner Levy, too, that you feel like this group really wants to educate the public. But is this the forum, based on what I'm understanding Congress has put this council into place for? And your hand was up, so go ahead.
Oh, no, once you're finished, I did want to just address some of the issues that you've raised, so I don't.
So that would be helpful for me to know if, is there another place for this council to be? And if I hear you saying you want to still be the lead on this work, and that you think it's important for us to do the work. And I'm just curious if you're thinking all of this work, or if there's another way to just to educate folks. There was another piece in here that I heard previously in a different hearing around the signage. And I don't know if it's this group that would be doing the signage, or if there's another way to get to it, similarly to what I heard Commissioner Stolzmann talk about for some of the other pieces around air pollution and other ways to.
Can you just clarify what you're asking about this work? Because I know there are a lot of community members that don't feel like there's a forum currently, even though this board is in place. So what type of forum, what type of work are you talking about?
Yeah, sure. And I'm referencing the work plan that Commissioner Levy was talking to as well, in regards to the activities that are listed in the memo that was given to us. And I received a copy of it like a week ago, maybe at the most. In regards to reviewing congressional funding for implementation of DOE responsibilities, understanding potential legal and regulatory issues regarding implementation, continuing to participate in these adaptive management plans, tracking issues related to slumping. All of those activities are a little different than what I heard you say just now, Commissioner Levy, about potentially the work needs to be more, just the community needs to be more educated. And so again, my question is this really is this forum the place that would get to what I heard you say you would like to work on in 2024 that I don't think we've done over the last 3 years? So that's my question.
Sure, yeah. I'll take a stab at it. There was a lot there. In terms of community participation, there are community members who show up and comment, and there is a comment period at the beginning of every meeting. If Commissioner Stolzmann referenced community members that have significant concerns, they haven't been appearing. So, they certainly can. It's open to the public. So, and I think this is something that we want to work on is making sure people really do know that that these meetings occur and that they can come and participate. But there is public participation. We have it at every meeting. And there is a small group of activists that show up. In terms of another organization or another group that would do the same thing, there is not. This is the entity that the Department of Energy and the Department of Public Health and Environment, which do the air and water quality monitoring, are required to report to. And so we have, for instance, the Rocky Mountain Peace and Justice Center, which is very active in this area, but they cannot, they don't have any standing to require the DOE or CDPHE to appear and report or have public meetings. So, then there are, various other organizations that have an interest in the wildlife at the refuge, but they don't have the power to, the authority to have these reports. So, they perform the function that advocacy organizations typically perform, which is, come and ask questions and monitor, but they can't do what this group does. So, there's always, in any area, there's like a landscape of advocacy organizations and official bodies. Yeah.
That makes sense. So,
well, you've asked the question several times, so I just wanted to make sure it was clear how this entity is really separate from other advocacy organizations. And then as far as the work plan, the board approves a work plan every year, and it is really directing the director, the paid staff, of the organization on the activities that they're supposed to do. But I guess I just want to say as plainly and clearly as I can that I think it would be improvident for us to not approve this IGA. Because by doing that, we are dissolving this entity, this council, that these other local governments, Jefferson County, City and County of Broomfield, City of Arvada, City of Boulder, Golden, North Glen, Thornton, Westminster, Superior, they all, and not to say nothing of the retired Rocky Flats employees, they all want this to continue. They find it valuable. And I think it would be a significant disruption of intergovernmental relations and community relations were we to not approve this IGA. To say nothing of the community, which shows up and finds it helpful, those who do show up, to ask questions about the reports that are submitted. So I just want to say as strongly as I can, and speaking as the lead on this council, that I do believe we should continue it.
Commissioner Levy, I have a question. Just, you said that, people don't come and talk about their displeasure with it open. So if community members start attending, would this board have the authority to close the site to public access?
No, it does not have that, but that doesn't mean that there isn't value in it.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I think people don't want to participate in something that's a waste of time, and that's why I don't want to participate in this.
Okay, yeah. And as far as the plutonium level that you referred to, I mean, that was a single instance of an elevated plutonium level. It's never been replicated. I mean, I'm not here to say it is or is not safe on this site. I participate in order to ask the questions about the results, the monitoring results that are presented. So to, based as a layperson, to ask the questions to be satisfied that what they're testing is thorough, that they're responding to any elevated events which do occur, and they present a remediation plan to us whenever there's any sort of elevated test result.
So I think my curiosity with the council, just looking at the work plan and hearing from you just in regards to kind of an update, is what does this council have authority to do? I hear that this is the place that Congress has set up to report back information to a community, and this is the place to do that in this council. But does the council have authority to demand any action if if a report comes back and they need to do, I think you just talked about remediation, or if the public in that one area says this is what we would like to, or is it more of just a sounding board, a place for presentation or reports on their federal requirements for the Rocky Mountains?
Yeah,
Rocky Flats.
I can't answer fully and with any degree of confidence on what we have the authority, if we would have the authority to require more testing. I don't know, honestly. I know, like in the closure plan, and this is a Superfund site, and so it's governed by CERCLA in terms of what kind of ongoing monitoring and reporting they're supposed to do. And I don't know. I don't think we can require additional testing of groundwater, surface water, because it's all been determined by the CERCLA closure plan.
I mean, here's what I feel like I hear what you've expressed today about this interest in educating the community about what's happening at Rocky Flats, and maybe about the work that the Rocky Flats Stewardship Council is doing and the opportunity to get more public comment or input. And I don't have issue with that. I don't have issue with the rest of these different jurisdictions continuing to participate. My understanding is we can approve to allow the group to stay together, because what you were saying directly at me in regards to your concern about not breaking up this group per se, or I'm not interested in stopping the work that happens. I am very interested in how Boulder County as a group, as part of the region, how could we be sharing out with community more what is happening and what the opportunities are for people to participate. And I don't know that this group is the group that has to be done with. I'm feeling like, just based on what I heard you say, that the work plan looks similar to what the previous work plan was, and that the group approves it. And I'm worried about if we've been able to do that effectively as Boulder County to really get out into the open. So I think I'd love your ideas as the lead of, what could that look like, and what do you have planned for 2024? And wondering if you don't need staff support to be able to do that, if you want to do something new and do it a little bit differently, and or open up more of those opportunities that I heard you express. But what I would like us to consider doing is to approve the resolution so the work can continue, and instead of us being physically at that table, to really look at what do we need to be doing to inform Boulder County residents about Rocky Flats? Like, what are the other opportunities? It looks like, the way I was reading the document and the work plan that you sent over and the memo, that this work has been in place for 18 years. And so that always makes me wonder, like, what needs to be done differently, and what's the opportunity, whether it's in a town hall or if it's in a different process, to get input from folks and find out. Why don't we ask people that question now that this has been in place for 18 years, so we can really guide whatever the work is and the position of this board, and get some input from staff about what we may need to do to accomplish. There were a few different pieces in there that I think probably would, as a board, agree on. So I would like us to, we could either table this and have a conversation with staff to really look at how we could be more effective in doing education and outreach around this site, or I would be in favor of approving it so that the rest of the administration or jurisdictions can continue the work. I would like us to pull back from our actual working role on it, so that as staff, as a board, we could talk about what do we want to do in regards to what I heard today. So that's what I'm thinking. So I appreciate the discussion and ability to just share what I'm thinking, and also hear from both of you.
So, I guess I'm hearing something different than what my beliefs are. And so I'm trying to wrap my head around all that. So I guess I could understand continuing on if we could agree to take a position that the Board of County Commissioners of Boulder County doesn't support public access on the site, and that's the position that would be represented at the group. And the other part that is hard for me to hear is about us needing to educate the community. My perception is that the community knows a lot more about this than we do. And so I think we need to learn from the community members rather than saying that we need to educate the community. So that those were the two pieces. But I could be supportive if we would take a position that we don't support public access on the site.
And I appreciate that. So thanks for that, because that's not what I'm trying to say. I don't believe that we're the ones educating, but what I heard Commissioner Levy is the lead on this topic, saying that she wants to do more outreach. I don't know exactly what that means. And I don't know who the partners would be in that. So it's hard for me to give a specific direction right now. Do I believe that there are folks that don't know about the Rocky Flats Stewardship Council and the history of that land and the 18 years of work that has been? I do believe that. Whether or not that's our job, or, as the lead, if that's, the work that Commissioner Levy wants to do, that I don't know. But I do believe there's some education about the history and that council that people need to know about.
And Commissioners, this is Natalie Springett, Commissioner's Deputy, for the record. I did just want to respond to Commissioner Loachamin's position to potentially table this. And we do have a date that we need either approval or decline of the Triennial agreement by February. So this would be our business meeting to reach that conclusion.
Commissioner Levy?
Thank you.
Oh, I hadn't heard Commissioner Loachamin say she wanted to table it. It was that we would approve it, but then continue the discussion about the extent of our participation. That's what I understood her to say.
There's no tabling, I don't think, because of the date that we're sitting here, so thank you.
Well, if there are no other questions, are we ready for a motion?
I don't know how I'll vote on the motion unless I sort of put a question out there to the group. If the group would be supportive of taking a position that we don't support public access on the site, that will inform my position on the proposal that's been brought forward.
I mean, for discussion on that position, we can take that position. I don't think it's going to really have any effect because the U.S. Fish and Wildlife has made plans for this site, and those plans have been approved up and down the chain before this board ever, sat. Whether those were the right decisions or the wrong decisions, that's kind of water under the bridge at this point. So I, for future opportunities to comment or shape the development and public access to the site, I'm happy to advocate for restricted access, but I don't think there's an opportunity at this point to change the change the actions that U.S. Fish and Wildlife have already taken.
I'm responding to your, thanks for bringing that back up. In response to your question about a position of, I'm in agreement with that. I don't know what our ability to control an outcome now with federal pieces in place. And that's also for me connected to my concern about this group in its totality, that we can be a partner and we can be there. But again, if the group has no ability to do any change because of it's Congress that has this committee and folks are just sitting there being listeners and receiving information, to me, it's always going to be about how do we get that information out to the community members that are most affected and people who are coming in new to the area and don't know that your history from 18 years ago. So for me, those pieces are connected. But in your question about a position, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, it just want to make, I think I heard you both say that. It seems fine, in other words. And so, there were a number of activities in 2024. So like if a new museum proposal is brought forward to be developed on site, like we would rather the museum was off-site. Like if there's a question about like a trail routing that comes to the board, I mean, so that's what I would think that would look like, is that like our position is that we don't think that public access should be promoted on the site.
I agree, and I also, this is one of my pieces of, we have a lead on that work, and so I'm hoping that this discussion would inform then what I heard is an advocacy role in this group versus an action potentially. So yes, I agree.
Okay, thank you. That's super helpful. Is there any further discussion needed or motion to be considered?
Well, the discussion, I would just have a question then, based on our discussion, our conversation, are you thinking that the best way to be effective with what we're saying is to approve and let the group move on and us withdraw from our participation until we can review? Or are you thinking I heard you say you weren't going to move or you weren't going to vote on it depending on our conversation, so.
Yeah, no, if what I think I understood was that the Board of County Commissioners is supportive of a policy that we don't support public access on Rocky Flats. And so if that's the position we're advocating on this group, I can be supportive of continuing our participation.
And I heard a position of not having access, so it might just be semantics and it might create might generate some activity in the background for staff, depending on if we're saying position, which I heard us agree to, or if what I just heard you say is a policy, and I don't know how that would affect other pieces. So I just want to be clear for the record and for staff.
So, what we have here is a resolution to approve the intergovernmental agreement. I think we should act on that resolution. I think we should have these additional discussions. There's nothing in front of us right now to act on. So I'd prefer to have these continued discussions about what our policy is at a time when we have a policy decision to make, which we don't really have right now. What we have on our agenda is Resolution 2023. I guess it's 2023-104. So,
Yeah, I think I heard that there was consensus that our position would be that we don't support public access. So I guess now hearing you say that makes me feel very uncertain. So like, would we, that seems very clear, like we can take that position and then we know that's what'll be advocated for. But if you're saying we're not going to do that, that causes issue for me.
well, I'm just saying, we don't have a decision. We don't have a question. We don't have a, we don't have anything to decide right now. I'm happy to, I will bring, when we have agenda items, I will bring those to the board. I hear that there's not confidence in my representation on this committee, so I'm happy to bring those to the board. I'm just saying I'm not backtracking. We don't have anything to act on here. We have a resolution, and I think we should
I don't have any concern. I'm confident in your ability to represent the board. I don't understand what's happening right now a little bit. Like, it seems very straightforward to say, like, we're going to be on this board and serve what purpose? And so if the purpose is that we don't support public access, I'm supportive of it. If that's not what we're saying, then I'm voting against it. Like, it's very simple for me.
Okay, well, so I'm going to move Resolution 2023-104 and ask for a second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I make a substitute motion to approve Resolution 2023-104 and give Commission direction that our position is that we do not support public access.
And
Is there a second?
yes, there's a second.
Okay, and so would anyone like to discuss the substitute motion?
No, I don't have any further discussion.
No, that's what I heard we agreed on, and so I'm in support of the amended motion, or the new motion.
Great. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everyone. The motion carries. Our next order of business this morning is Community Planning and Permitting Docket DC 23-0001, text amendments to land use code related to short-term dwelling and vacation rentals and licensing ordinance 2023-02.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Ethan Abner. I'm a long-range planner with Community Planning and Permitting, and the purpose of me being here today is just to seek your approval of two clarifications from staff based off of the direction you provided at the hearing on January 9th, 2024 related to this docket and the licensing ordinance, as well as get your approval on the amendments that you made to the licensing ordinance so that we can get it signed and published. The first clarification is related to your direction about allowing vacation rentals in the subdivisions in the Upper St. Vrain Census County Division. There are 4 subdivisions that cross the boundary line between the Upper St. Vrain Census County Division and the Bald Mountain Census County Division, but staff's clarification would essentially treat those subdivisions as wholly being within the Upper St. Vrain Census County Division. The second clarification is related to some language in the licensing ordinance that would just clarify that the license that individuals have for their primary dwelling short-term rental right now would be good until it either expires or until the effective date of the ordinance.
Thank you. Any questions?
I don't have any questions.
I do have a couple questions, Ethan. So what we're voting on today is to approve the final language in the ordinance.
Yes, my understanding is that because you made amendments to the ordinance, we have to just get your approval for those amendments, and then staff is offering that one additional clarification.
Yeah, and I did want to just ask about one change in here that I'm not certain we meant to do when we approved this several weeks ago. I have it as an independent PDF, so I'm trying to find it in the document that we have in front of us. I'll just, well, it's in section 4A, paragraph 7, on providing a copy of the license to neighbors, and this draft that we have shows that deleted in full because we decided that we wanted the application provided at the time of application. I don't think we intended to delete the second sentence that requires the license be posted in the dwelling unit for guests to see. And I asked my fellow commissioners whether that was part of your intention. I thought we do want the licensee to have to post the license on the premises, and I don't see that anywhere else in here. There's another section where it could be, which is what is, guest information in section 6.2, where it could be included. So that was another clarification I saw in here.
Does staff want to add anything?
No.
Any discussion?
Yeah, just to clarify, thank you. I'm just trying to catch up with where you just sent us, I think in section 6 I'm on a different page, obviously. Page 5 of 9, maybe, if that means anything. Is that under guest information you're talking about? I guess my question is, maybe it's a staff question, there is a copy of the license in the other, like the packet with the wildfire information and all of the other items. Is that true?
So there can be, but I think I understand what Commissioner Levy is saying in the sense that because we added in what's section 4D notice based off of the direction that you provided, and I had heard that the direction was to delete 7. Not sure if it was in its entirety or not, but if we want to keep having the licensee post a copy of the license in there, we can just change the language to account for that.
That's fine. I'm not.
Yeah, I think we still want that license posted. Every short-term rental I've ever been in has had the license, so you know. And I think we just deleted too much. And I think it does actually belong in section 6, A2, guest information. So if we could put that language back in there. That was one question I had. Is that?
I haven't been in a short-term rental that had, so I don't know if it's posted on a wall or where it's posted. As long as it's in there somewhere, just so that people have it, that's fine. It doesn't have to be posted on a wall for me.
I don't have a ton of energy around this either way. Are you going to support this ordinance? I mean, is this we can go through all of these things, but I don't have a lot of energy around this either way. Like, I don't object to what you're saying, and I don't think it makes a tremendous difference if we leave it out.
Okay, well, I just wanted to clarify what the action staff took in trying to take our very long conversation and put it in the ordinance. And I did not think we intended to delete the requirement to post a copy of the license in a prominent location. So I don't have a ton of energy around it either. If that's going to be a stumbling block, then absolutely, I'm not going to push it, but I think it is what we intended to do.
So you were okay with what staff brought us? It was just this additional one item, or was there another item?
It's another item, but I think, well, first, maybe we can resolve this, whether we do want to provide direction to take the language that was in the second sentence of section 4A7 that requires the licensee to post a copy of the license in a prominent location within the dwelling unit for guests to see, and add that to the guest information requirements in section 6A2.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, well, when we have a motion, I'll propose an amendment to the motion. The other was on, let me get to the language, the notification of that the application has been filed. Oh, yeah, so that's in section 4D, that provide notification by U.S. mail to all owners of immediately adjacent parcels when a complete license application is received. We had discussed whether it should be simply the immediate adjacent parcels or other properties that have frontage and access along a private road. that is used for access to the licensed premises. And and I can just bring these as amendments to a motion when the time comes to take a vote. But I just want to call that one out as well. That I know we had a lot of back and forth about the extent of notice that should be required, and I wasn't sure this is where we landed.
So do you want to just talk about what it is? It sounds like you're going to be proposing a change.
Yeah, once we have a motion on the table, I would amend this language for D to require notice to all properties with frontage on a private road that is used as access to the subject premises.
So I thought I heard, thanks for just bringing it up. I think it's easier to have a little discussion. I thought I had heard in that previous hearing that that would be a little bit difficult for staff to go find the properties that have adjacent and find the mailboxes and all that good stuff. So I'm just wondering if, I see where you're going because I heard you talk about this before, but I'm wondering if it would be easier from a actual logistic and practical standpoint for us to say, maybe it's increasing what we would typically do from 1,500 feet of a property to like 3,000 feet. I don't know, but this is a different region or a different area. I just think putting it too tied to, it's got to, someone's got to go up there and find the road and look at the adjacent, those pieces. From a practicality standpoint, I'm wondering if you might think about a different way to.
For me, I do feel like we discussed this particular point extensively in the hearing and landed on this, which I didn't support. What's typical for licenses is actually not to notify. Like, we don't notify for any other type of license. So this is like additional notification that we agreed on and negotiated and debated. And so I'm supportive of what's been presented by staff as where we landed. And like, no one got everything that they wanted in the hearing, right? Like, it was a long mix of 8.5 hours of compromise. And I believe this is where we landed. So I'm supportive of what staff's put forward.
And commissioners, to clarify to Commissioner Stolzmann's point, we have referenced the notes from that hearing, and there was not board approval for this item, but it was discussed. So we would request that it move forward as presented by staff today.
Any other discussion points?
I didn't have.
No.
So I would move on item 5C that we approve the text amendments to the land use code related to short-term dwelling and vacation rentals and licensing ordinance 2023-02 as presented by staff.
Is there a second?
I will second it to put it on the table, and then I would make what I hope will be received as a friendly amendment, that we restore the language that requires the license to be posted in the premises.
Thank you. Does the mover accept the friendly amendment?
The mover has a question about the friendly amendment. Did you mean to restore it to that number or line 7, or to restore it to the other section in? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that put it in the right place.
Okay,
Yeah.
restore it, but in the place that we've talked about and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm, as the mover, I'm in acceptance of your friendly amendment.
And this is the seconder accept the friendly amendment?
Yes.
Great. Any discussion of the motion?
I would like to discuss the motion as amended, and I do appreciate the chair's observation and comment about the length of the hearing and the significant amount of give and take that was discussed during the course of the hearing. It's unreasonable for any of us to expect everything that we wanted. And however, I will not be voting no on this on this land use code amendment and licensing ordinance, because in the sum total of all of the changes to it, I think that it's not consistent with the policies that I believe we should be promoting, which is fairly limited development of short-term rentals in our mountain communities, in order to really preserve the existing nature of those communities. I do think that there were significant improvements made in terms of, not requiring what effectively were supposed to be quasi-judicial hearings around things that we basically never even changed. So it was good to simplify the process, make it less discretionary or remove discretion altogether. So I appreciate a lot of really good work that was done in here, but I can't vote in favor of it because I don't support allowing 365 night per year vacation rentals. And I also think that it's very, very important that residents, that people who have an ownership interest in whose property is being used for access to these things, that, you know, that they have a chance to be notified of the license so that they can protect their property rights. So it's for those reasons that I wouldn't, that I will be voting no.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion?
Sure, I'm happy to just make a couple comments because I just want to thank staff. This is an ordinance that was put in place in December 2020, and we've had a lot of feedback from residents around Boulder County about short-term rental, and we know even at a state level, it's a big conversation. And so for me, just going through a process with a lot of community engagement in different formats in different ways and trying new methods, I just want to, I'm really appreciative of it. And it took longer because of the work that was brought to us with the Marshall Fire and that devastation for community planning and permitting. So I want to acknowledge it's just taken longer than we thought. And as I said in the previous hearing, for me, I'm very open to a 2-year review or something similar with staff's guidance, because it's a new ordinance. And so I think y'all have done a really good job of finding out what was missed in that 2020 decision. And if I go back to the safety and health requirements and the actual user experience and the areas that we have that have historically been used as short-term rentals in different forms. So to get welcome folks into this licensing program so that we have a good idea of what is really happening and making sure that folks have this information to keep their units safe and pieces they weren't aware of before they started getting into this quote-unquote business of short-term rental. I feel like the staff's done a great job in helping us do that. So I am in support of, and just want to make sure folks are clear that this is not a new ordinance that we were putting in that last long hearing, as much as trying to listen to community members and residents and folks who have these properties and would continue to use them as short-term rentals or vacation rentals with or without our amendments, but to be able to try and bring more people into using that process and get information about the guidelines. I feel like you all have captured that. It's not going to be perfect, and I'm open to review it in the future.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
No, thank you.
Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Thank you, everyone. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is human resources, but I think we'll hear maybe a presentation from Zach Swank from Oscar and BJ from Human Resources virtually, just around a new full-time employee for the Office of Sustainability.
Good morning, Commissioners. BJ Landon with Human Resources. Susie Strife, the Office of Sustainability, Climate Action Resiliency Director, is requesting a new 1.0 grant-funded Sustainability Specialist 1. The City of Boulder and Boulder County have partnered with the Energy Smart Residential Energy Advising since 2010. The City of Boulder is offering long-term annual renewing funding to Oscar for an additional bilingual preferred residential energy advisor to focus on clients within the City of Boulder. HR has approved the classification. Bridget McCarthy, the Grants Accounting Supervisor, has verified the funding. The Board of Commissioners approval is needed, and Zach is here if you have any questions about the position.
Thank you so much. Any questions from commissioners? I know we received a memo around this. Any discussion? Commissioner Levy.
Thank you. I did just want to put, just make one note here. I don't have any concerns about it. I did ask in response to the bilingual preferred whether we could request that the City of Boulder make it a bilingual required, because, in reading the memo in the community that they really feel is being overlooked right now, it seemed to me really important that it actually be a requirement. And I just want to share with the board that and Zach maybe can speak to this better, because for me it's secondhand, that the city of Boulder wasn't willing to make it bilingual required, but I did just want to say that I was disappointed in that position.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, that's a big shift from what I've heard from you in the past around bilingual or required. So I appreciate that, and it just for me it's to be able to really think about the community members that we're serving and our population is great. So I'd love to hear from you about that, if that was the city of Boulder or just how you put the documents
Sure, yeah.
together.
Good morning, Commissioners. Zach Swank, Deputy Director, Office of Sustainability, Climate Action and Resilience. So we did put that question to City of Boulder. They did prefer to have it be bilingual preferred. We do have one bilingual staff on the Energy Smart team. So currently there's 2 staff members and one of them is bilingual. So in the end, with their preference, we felt like we do have that bilingual capability within the staff, and this position being preferred, we were comfortable with that. But also, I mean, to your point, it's a fair point.
The other question I do have for you is just because this one, I hear concern from folks around the county about Boulder-centric.
Right.
And so I'm just curious if this proposal came to us from the city of Boulder or just thinking about Lafayette or Longmont or other sectors of community that do want this Energy Smart, just the opportunity and the information. So just curious if you could help me understand that piece.
Yeah, totally. I don't remember who originated the idea. It was probably us. About 50% of the clients served by Energy Smart are in the city of Boulder. So this actually balances out some of that Boulder-centricness by having Boulder now contributing to proportionally a little bit more contributing to the I guess you could argue disproportionate number of clients that are in the city of Boulder. Energy Smart also collaborates. We are currently receiving funding from the city of Louisville for additional rebates that we're administering on their behalf without any additional staff funding contributions from city of Louisville. We've had relationships with the city of Longmont in the past prior to the creation of the Efficiency Works program. And PACE is currently receiving additional rebates, support from the city of Lafayette for some of our commercial programs. So we do have agreements with other communities, but currently it's just the city of Boulder that's funding staff, which I believe addresses some of that Boulder-centricness, because they are, rather than the previous status quo of 50% of the clients being served in the city of Boulder, but 100% of the staff being Boulder County staff. Now we have a dedicated City of Boulder advisor that can focus on that staff. And the other thing that it does is, particularly for our commercial program, but now if, approved would be true for the residential program as well, is it increases the overall capacity of the team. And so we often, together with City of Boulder and City of Boulder funded staff, develop, pilot, test, launch new programs that we wouldn't have had the time and capacity to do with the more limited staff without that additional resource and funding. So we see it as a benefit overall to our programming across the county.
Thank you.
Thanks. Not seeing any other questions. Thanks, Commissioner Levy. I think that's a fantastic suggestion. So I support amending it to be a bilingual required.
And I didn't propose that as an amendment or as a requirement because the city of Boulder is paying for this, and they rejected that proposal. So
I didn't hear it that way. I heard that they didn't like that idea, but it's our staff member ultimately that we're hiring. And so I think if we want someone to work at the county and say bilingual required, that's fine.
I guess I'd like to hear from staff of whether, so do we handle the hiring and we post it and we establish? Okay.
Yep.
So, all right, well then, yeah, I'm fine with that. I thought they did that and because they were paying for it.
So if there ends up being some kind of issue, then you'll just come back to the board, because what I've heard, what the proposal would be, and I would support it, would be to make that change. But if for some reason they said that isn't going to meet their need, then we wouldn't do that hiring, and we'd look at a different way to do that. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I guess we could come back to the board in that case. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think there's actually quite a lot of consensus around the directions. I don't see a need to double back to the board. I think we would like to give direction to post this position as a bilingual required. It matches the skill set, as Commissioner Levy pointed out, that we're looking for. And, you know, it's exactly what we need. And so I think we would convey that to Boulder. And if for some reason they withdraw the funding for that reason, then we would still want to move forward with it as preferred. That's what I believe our intent is.
Yeah.
Is that enough direction for you?
Yeah.
All right, is there a motion?
Move approval of item 5D with the amendment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. The motion carries. And that takes us to our authorization for executive session. I'm not seeing our county attorney, so I'll turn it over to our commissioner's deputy to introduce this topic.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Natalie Springett, Commissioner's Deputy for the record. So I am here to request authorization for the Board of County Commissioners to go into executive session for legal advice pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024B, legal advice at 11 a.m. on Wednesday, January 31st with County Attorney Ben Perlman. And the topic would be coroner's office vacancy.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everyone. The motion carries. That takes us to our scheduling and communications. We have a proclamation for Boulder County's 2024 Black History Month. We'll turn it over to Gloria Handyside for introduction.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Gloria Handyside from the Commissioner's Office, and I'm here this morning to introduce Boulder County's 2024 Black History Month proclamation. I'd like to thank the NAACP Boulder County for their input on the proclamation. The NAACP Boulder County have also extended their thanks to the Commissioners for sponsorship of the upcoming 2024 Freedom Fund celebration taking place during Black History Month. The events are open to the public and free to attend. On February 18th at the Mackey Auditorium, Mr. Anthony Ray Hinton will share his powerful experience of having endured and triumphed over nearly 30 years on Alabama's death row for a crime he didn't commit. Thanks to the Equal Justice Initiative led by attorney Brian Stevenson, Mr. Hinton was exonerated in 2015. The February 18th event also includes soulful music from talented entertainer and musician Daniel Ponder. I've watched YouTube clips from both, and I'm sure it will be a moving celebration. On a personal note, I recommend downloading Daniel Ponder's Some of Us Are Brave. On February 11th, a free screening of the multi-award-winning documentary True Justice, Brian Stevenson's Fight for Equality, which includes Mr. Hinton's story, will take place at the Lafayette Public Library on Sunday, February 11th. Previous screenings took place in Longmont and Boulder in January. This information, as well as details of the Museum of Boulder's year-long exhibition proclaiming Colorado's Black history, will be shared through the county's communications channels. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so with that introduction, we will read the proclamation. 2024 Black History Month proclamation. Whereas during National Black History Month, we celebrate the legacy of Black Americans whose power to lead, to overcome, and to expand the meaning of the practice of democracy has helped the United States become a more fair and just society while acknowledging that there's still much work to be done. And whereas Black Americans' struggles for freedom, equal treatment, and the right to vote, for equal opportunities in education, housing, and the workplace, for economic opportunity, equal justice, and political representation, and so much more have reformed our democracy far before its founding. And whereas Black Americans have made a way not only for themselves, but have also helped build a highway for millions of women, immigrants, and other historically marginalized communities, and all residents to more fully experience the benefits of our society. And
whereas Boulder County continues to support the work of the NAACP Boulder County branch and their 2024 Black History Month celebration events with guest speaker Anthony Ray Hinton and musician Danielle Ponder, who embody the spirit of perseverance and hope. And whereas Boulder County supported the 19th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulder County Community Celebrations 2024 themed Fanning the Flames of the Dream, presented by the NAACP Boulder Branch, Second Baptist Church, Longmont Multicultural Action Committee, Boulder JCC, and the Museum of Boulder. And whereas Boulder County welcomes the Colorado General Assembly's unanimous decision to designate a portion of US 36 in Boulder as the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Highway, and express thanks to Representative Joni Joseph for her leadership in this effort as a prime sponsor of the Assembly's designated Dr.
Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Highway Resolution. And
Whereas Boulder County also welcomes the Museum of Boulder's efforts to work collaboratively to amplify Black perspectives and resource Black historians to preserve and share Colorado's rich and complex Black history through their year-long exhibition proclaiming Colorado's Black history. And whereas Boulder County supports the creation and adoption of fully inclusive, anti-racist, and multicultural policies at a state and local level, and believes it is the moral responsibility of the county and its employees to interrupt institutional racism, which manifests through racist policy, practices, and behaviors, both internal and external, to the Boulder County organization. Now therefore, the Boulder County Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim that the month of February 2024 is recognized as Black History Month in Boulder County, and urges all residents to actively raise their own awareness of Black history, encourages everyone to recognize the struggles, achievements, and contributions of Black Americans through local Black History Month events, and to engage in action to create a fully inclusive, anti-racist Boulder County, adopted this 30th day of January 2024.
Thank you, Commissioners. That takes us to our
Commissioner Stolzmann, may I just add one thing?
Certainly.
Just quickly, I did on Saturday go to the Boulder screening of True Justice, the story of Brian Stevenson's work that was sponsored by the NAACP here in Boulder. And it's very inspirational. It's a wonderful film, and I do encourage people to go see it when they have the opportunity to do that.
Did you want to add anything?
no, thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. And so that takes us to our confirmation of executive session topics this morning. I will confirm for the record that the executive session topics noticed at the January 23rd, 2024 regular meeting were discussed as scheduled. The time is 11:37. We'll meet back here at 11:45 for our community planning and permitting docket this morning. Until then, we'll sit in recess.
The entire town of Samara is.
All right. Commissioners, are you ready?
Yes, we are.
And we are recording.
Welcome back. Call to order the meeting of the Boulder County Commissioners for January 30th. We're back to hear SPR 23-0093 Dow McVeigh Residence and Accessory Structures for consideration. And so as I said, all three commissioners are present. We're going to hear a presentation from our staff on the topic. Then we'll hear from the applicant about what they would like to tell us. Each one will have 20 minutes to tell us what they'd like to tell us. Then we'll hear from members of the public that would like to comment on the topic before we give final comments to staff, and then the applicant, and then the commissioners will deliberate this morning. That's what we're planning to do. Every single person who talks needs to stand about 2 inches from their microphone when they speak, and everyone needs to state their name for the record. With that, I'll ask commissioners if there are any disclosures to make for the record.
I don't have any.
Any disclosures? None?
No, thank you.
Thank you. So we have no disclosures this morning, and with that, we'll turn it over to staff for the presentation on the topic.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dana Yelton.
And just get a little bit, if you could pull the microphone toward you.
My name's Dana Yelton. I'm with Community Planning and Permitting, and I was the reviewing planner for docket SPR 23-0093. The property is located at 48733 Peak to Peak Highway. Just some background on how we arrived here at the call-up today. On October 30th, 2023, the Community Planning and Permitting Department issued a determination letter conditionally approving docket SPR 23-0093. On November 13th, 2023, Commissioner Stolzmann requested that the application be called up to a business meeting to determine whether or not to hold a public hearing for the proposal. During the November 30th, 2023 business meeting, the commissioners voted unanimously to confirm the call-up and hold a public hearing for the proposal. Here we have a summary of the comments received from adjacent property owners following the issuance of the determination letter for the docket. Staff received 2 public comments in support of the approval and 2 public comments raising concerns. The first comment was received November 8th, 2023, expressing support. On November 13th, 2023, a second comment was received raising concerns about the proposed development regarding visibility from the peak-to-peak highway, as well as concerns regarding a previous approval, docket SPR 15-0115, which is located on another parcel encumbered by the same conservation easement. On January 8th, 2024, a second comment was received from that same property owner stating that they have no current objections following conversations with the subject property owners. And finally, on January 16th, a comment was received by a third party raising concerns regarding the approved size and visibility. We have a project overview. The applicant is Nathan Connect, and the owners are Vicky McVeigh and Jesse Dow. The parcel is zoned forestry. It is approximately 88 acres. It's currently vacant, and the presumed compatible size is 2,500 square feet. The proposed and approved development includes a 3,000 square foot residence with a 587 square foot attached garage and 625 square feet of covered porches, a 960 square foot detached garage, and 2 120 square foot sheds. The total resulting size is 4,787 square feet of residential floor area, including the residence, the attached garage, the detached garage, and the 2 sheds. Per Article 18-162 of the Land Use Code, the covered porches on the residence do not count toward the total RFA. The maximum height of the residence is approved at 29 feet, the detached garage at 24 feet, and the sheds both 11 feet. The approved site disturbance includes 469 cubic yards of non-foundational earthwork for construction of the driveway and 614 cubic yards of foundational earthwork. We have a vicinity map orienting the property in the northwest area of the county. It is north of Ward and west of Jamestown along the peak-to-peak highway. The location map indicates that this parcel is not located within a subdivision. We have an aerial view giving an idea of the existing conditions on the property. It's heavily forested for the most part. The comprehensive plan map identifies wildlife migration corridors across the majority of the parcel, as well as environmental conservation areas across the entirety of the parcel. There are significant natural communities identified in orange along the southwest portion of the parcel. And along this stretch of the peak-to-peak highway, there is a scenic view corridor protection score of 5, which is the highest rating. The approved building site minimizes, to the greatest extent possible, impacts to these sensitive areas. And I will note it is not shown on this map. However, the Parks and Open Space referral response noted that along the middle of the parcel, running east to west, there is also a montane meadow and a wetland, although it's not identified clearly here. And so the approved building site, as I said, minimizes the impacts to these areas while also minimizing potential visibility impacts along the highway. The Public Lands and CEs map identifies that there is a Boulder County conservation easement on the subject property, as well as adjacent properties to the southeast. To the east and south of the subject property, there is adjacent U.S. Forest Service land. As noted, the subject parcel is encumbered by a Boulder County conservation easement, and the conservation easement program referral response dated October 17th, 2023, acknowledged the following regarding the conservation easement allowances. The CE permits the construction of 1 single-family residence not to exceed 3,000 square feet. The CE also permits the construction of 2 garages and 2 sheds that are not subject to square footage restrictions. The CE includes language that protects the view corridor of the peak-to-peak highway, and CE program staff conducted a thorough on-site analysis of the proposed building locations and determined that the natural stands of vegetation should screen the proposed structures. Staff finds the proposal for the 3,000 square foot residence with attached garage, detached garage, and 2 sheds is consistent with the terms of the conservation easement. There is some nuance regarding the approved size of the residence. The applicants propose to use eco blocks for construction, which are wider than traditional building materials, resulting in a footprint of 3,300 square feet for the residence. The Building Safety and Inspection Services Team referral outlines that Ron Flax, Chief Building Official, supports the applicant's request to measure the size of the home based on a typical construction of a 2x6 exterior wall, which is also consistent with previous similar approvals. Staff finds that given the benefits of the thicker wall system with a higher performance and lower embodied energy, it is reasonable to measure the size of the residence based on the typical construction of a 2x6 wall, and therefore the resulting size of the residence will total 3,000 square feet, making it consistent with the terms of the conservation easement. Site Plan Review Standard 4-806A2 it relates to the size of the development and neighborhood compatibility. The proposed and approved size, as noted before, includes the residence, the attached garage, the detached garage, and the sheds. The total resulting size of 4,787 square feet exceeds the neighborhood size presumption of 2,500 square feet by 2,287 square feet. Land Use Article 4-806A2BIC allows for properties which are encumbered by a Boulder County conservation easement that specifies an allowable house size on that parcel. That specified home size is a factor to be considered in rebutting a size presumption which is smaller than the house size defined in the conservation easement, such as the case here. Staff finds the proposal is consistent with Article 4-806A2 because the resulting size is consistent with the terms of the CE and will not have a significant negative visual impact on the peak-to-peak highway natural features or character of the applicable neighborhood and surrounding area. We have some elevation renderings of the residence, the north and south shown here, and the east and west. The detached garage elevation drawings, and the 2 sheds are shown here. SPR standard 4-806A10 relates to negative visual impact resulting from the development. I will note that the approved location of the residence is 420 feet from the peak-to-peak highway, and the approved location of the detached garage is 300 feet from the peak-to-peak highway. The natural topography and existing natural stands of vegetation should sufficiently screen the proposed structures, and the approved colors, exterior colors and materials will blend well with the natural environment and the neighborhood character of the surrounding area. Therefore, staff finds that the development will not have a significant negative visual impact on the peak-to-peak highway, natural features, or neighborhood character. The conservation easement identifies 3 potential building sites. They are shown here. Number 1 is in red. Number 2 has a yellow star on it. That is the approved building site. And number 3 is the other option that were considered during the review. There are benefits to each of these sites. However, location number 2 was deemed to be optimal in balancing all of the applicable criteria. More on the approved building site. staff finds that the approved location is optimal because the identified existing drainage areas and patterns will not be impacted by the development. The steepness of the site is not considered to be excessive. The required wildfire mitigation measures are less intensive than other potential locations, and the potential visibility impacts are considered less significant than the other potential locations. Site Plan Review Standard 4-806A11 relates to the development being compatible with natural topography and avoiding unnecessary or excessive site disturbance. The driveway construction will require 269 cubic yards of cut and 200 cubic yards of fill. Given the required length of the driveway, these proposed earthwork and grading quantities are considered reasonable. The length of the proposed and approved driveway is necessary to reach the approved building site, and staff finds that the site disturbance is therefore minimized to the greatest extent possible. It is not considered unnecessary or excessive and will not result in a severe alteration of the site's topography. We've included here a site plan which identifies the proposed driveway extending south from Peak to Peak Highway. The green box indicates the location of the detached garage. The yellow box indicates the sheds, and the blue box is where the residence will be sited. I've also included a couple of photos that were taken on site. The site plan on the left has a yellow star identifying where this photo was taken from. So this is the corner of the detached garage looking to the north. As you can see here, the site is heavily wooded. And we've also included a similar view from the house site, also looking to the north. Given the reasons presented here, Community Planning and Permitting staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners uphold the Director's determination for SPR 23-0093, the Dow McVeigh residence and accessory structures, as found in the determination letter dated October 30th, 2023.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Commissioner Levy.
Thank you. I do have, I guess, two questions. Well, initially, I had concerns about the conservation easement language, and it seems that that's been resolved. But the question I have is about whether this discounting of the block, eco-block construction, is this something that Boulder County, that our building department is going to use as a standard way of determining square footage? Because we've had this, I ask because we've had this question come before us before, where people feel that the measurement of the presumptive size maximum isn't fair, and I don't think we've amended our regulations. So I'm just wondering about whether this is going to be an adopted consistent interpretation.
I don't believe it is setting a precedent in that way, that it will be the new adopted way that we measure this type of home. It is considered on a case-by-case basis per application, and there are a few examples that I could find for you that where it has been, a similar project has been approved, and Kim Sanchez is here as well.
Hi, Kim Sanchez, Deputy Director for
It needs to be
Community
much
Planning and
closer.
Permitting. I think Ron Flax, the Chief Building Official, has been interpreting it consistently and giving that feedback to us. It hasn't been codified as such, but we can certainly add it to our list of potential amendments.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. If I could just have one follow-up on that. I understand, we really want to encourage this kind of construction because it's very energy efficient and it requires less energy to heat and cool. I think when we get to the point of considering this, what we really need to be looking at is the purpose of the presumptive size maximum, and it's sort of a substitute for a subjective determination of compatibility, which is really based on the bulk and mass of the residents, not the amount of indoor usable square footage. I mean, I think when the PSM was originally adopted, it was maybe a little bit for both, but then when we went to the energy smart effort to at least offset the energy impact, the climate impact, then the remaining reason for it really was visibility and how does it look? How big is it? And the fact that you have very thick walls, it doesn't diminish the size of it. So just a note here as we go forward and consider this, that I think we need to really think about what are we actually trying to do with that presumptive size maximum, and is the analysis that Ron Flax applied really the right one?
Noted. I think we can have that discussion when we consider whether to include that as an amendment. Two things I would say is that there currently in the site plan review regs is a factor that allows people to overcome the size presumption for energy efficiency improvements. So arguably we could apply that factor to this case as well. We just didn't include it in the analysis. The other thing is I don't think that the size differential between regular walls and the walls that are being used is too terribly significant. So I think staff was comfortable with the additional increment over.
Thanks.
Commissioner Loachamin.
Thank you. Just two things. One, from the presentation, thanks Dana for being here. There was a slide that talked about just how we got here to the call up that said on November 30th, the Board of County Commissioners unanimously agreed to call it up. I wasn't at that, must have been a business meeting. So just from a record standpoint, there was two people that agreed, but unanimously would, in my mind, put all three of us on there. So just for the record on that one. So I wasn't part of that original discussion. So questions that I have, there's two pieces that kind of caught my attention in regards to the analysis in the packet in regards to visual impacts, the PSM, and the conservation easement. So the PSM is clearly less square footage than what the conservation easement reads at. And so I wondered if you could just talk about, and I was curious to kind of find out how it got to call up because I wasn't sure what the piece was. But so in my review, that would help me understand if there was which one guides land use code now, because that CE was 2001, it looked like what the date was, or conservation easement language. And I did see in the packet the piece about it could be used as a factor. But I'm wondering if you know any of the history and if there was any part of the negotiation around the conservation easement or anything else that would help me understand the analysis that got to the 3,000 square feet versus what the PSM and then the land use code direction in my interpretation would be.
Yes, I may defer to Liz Northrup. She's here representing the Conservation Easement Program and is most familiar with the details of that.
Thank you.
Liz Northrup, Conservation Easement Program Supervisor with Parks and Open Space. I can shed some light on that. First, I can talk about how we currently would be drafting conservation easements, which is we consult with the Community Planning and Permitting Department to talk about the PSM of the area, and we take that into consideration when drafting these documents. Each negotiation is individual. They all have different terms and conditions. So it is possible that Parks and Open Space staff could approve house size over PSM if we were to, in return, get some sort of benefit conservation-wise to include in the conservation easement. So it's something that does happen. As you mentioned, in this particular property, it was originally conserved starting back in 1992, and that was before site plan review standards even came into play. So getting that 3,000 square foot restriction on the single family residence was really important because it did restrict the size where site plan review was not applicable yet. And then back in 2001, the conservation easement was amended and restated when the original grantors decided to relinquish an additional building right. So it was the fourth building right was extinguished, and the 3,000 square feet was a holdover from that original conservation easement. And the planners have informed me that the presumptive size maximum restrictions in the land use code were not yet in effect in 2001 when this amended and restated conservation easement was signed.
Okay, so
Thanks, Liz. So the way I'm hearing, if you can just clarify for me, what I heard you say is that was part of the negotiation to get from in the 2001, from the previous grantor to get to that 3,000 square foot versus what PSM, because PSM didn't exist at that time. So,
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that was look at my notes really quickly. You mentioned in your presentation about one of the photos or diagrams that you showed. I don't know if you can bring up that slide, that there was a public comment, which sounds like it came in after maybe even the call up, that was indicating an area of montane meadow and something else. I didn't write it down. And so I just want to know if in your analysis now, to get us to January 30th, if you reanalyze that or had any other concerns in regards to what the location 2 was chosen in the proposal.
The Montane Meadow and wetland were referenced in a Parks and Open Space referral comment, and it was considered during the analysis of the review and weighing the benefits of each building site. All 3 potential building sites avoid those sensitive areas fairly well, and so it wasn't of great concern in distinguishing between the 3 options.
Okay, thank you. I misunderstood what you said. I was thinking it was connected to public comment that came later, so that's the clarification I need. So I don't have additional questions right now.
Does that prompt any further questions from you, Commissioner Levy?
None from me, thank you.
Thank you very much. And so we'll turn it over to the applicant. You'll have 20 minutes to tell us what you would like to tell us when each person speaks. If you'll tell us your name for the record, whoever's going to speak, and just again, like right in the microphone.
My name is Vicki McVeigh. I'm one of the owners with my son, Jesse. And I would like to give you a little bit of a history of my family's presence in this area, because that kind of multi-generational history is what has driven all of our decisions about purchasing the land and living on a conservation easement. And I'm going to read this because otherwise I'm afraid that I will, who knows, I could go anywhere. Our family has lived in Colorado for 5 generations, from my grandparents to my grandchildren. And collectively, we have spent more than 100 years here. What has happened over those years is that a relationship has formed between ourselves and the prairie and mountain ecosystems, to the extent that our family culture has come to recognize that the connection between people and the land, like any other relationship, cannot be defined in purely physical terms, and that honoring the spirit of the land is a prerequisite to taking care of it and living with it in right relationship. Living on land that is part of a conservation easement is in itself a commitment to living in right relationship. So we were very happy to find a piece of land that is already on a conservation easement. And in our case, since we have a multi-generational commitment to the land, we look forward to building a multi-generational house. We began talking to conservation easement staff a few months before buying the land, and have also walked the land with people from the Boulder County Planning Department, Wildfire Partners, and Boulder County Parks and Wildlife. We did a lot of research into building a sustainable house and a set of buildings that will be needed to house the equipment for fire mitigation and to maintain the land in good health. And in finding the right people to design and build structures that will blend into the surrounding rocks, trees, and hills. We all, including the now almost grown children of the family, know how to live in the mountains. When my son Jesse was 6, we lived at the CU Mountain Research Station, where I investigated and mapped natural hazards, and Jesse bonded with the upper montane forests and meadows of the Indian Peaks Wilderness area. For the past 33 years, I have lived about 5 miles from the land we are planning to build our family home on. And my grandchildren have also grown up knowing the upper montane ecosystem. More recently, Jesse accepted a job as executive director of the Rocky Mountain Eco-Dharma Retreat Center, which is only a couple of miles from our new land. And Jean, my future daughter-in-law, has for several years been a teacher and a retreat facilitator at that center, and has also for almost 20 years enjoyed a deep connection with the Indian Peaks area. In other words, we all know and love this land well and are committed to being good stewards of it, and that definitely includes building the right kind of structures on it. Thank you.
My name is Jesse Dow, one of the applicants. Yeah, I wanted to tell a quick story about my great-grandmother that she told my grandfather, my mom's father and grandmother. Save the farm for the children is what she told him just before she died. And this is our family farm that my great-grandparents bought in 1918. And over the years, development has encroached on that land, and we've made a lot of effort to preserve and conserve that land as well, and continue to. But a big part of buying this property has been to try to sort of transfer that sentiment of our great-grandfather to a place that is easier to protect, because our farm is becoming more and more difficult to protect as it's surrounded by development. So we're building this house as a multi-generational home. The reason that we're taking the full square footage allotted to us under the conservation easement is because we're designing it as a place where many generations can be together. My mom's generation, my children's generation, and hopefully my grandchildren's generation. Hopefully not anytime soon, maybe 10 years. So for me, saving the farm for the children is really the sentiment behind building this house the way we're building it. And it's something that we want to keep as a legacy for our family forever. Like my mom said, I grew up in those mountains. I remember a photograph of me 3 years old with a pair of cross-country skis at Brainerd Lake. So that place has been the center of my geographical universe for my whole life. My commitment to take care of it is lifelong. And given my job, which is executive director of the Rocky Mountain Eco-Dharma Retreat Center, it's also my career. I think I'm going to pass it on to Jean to...
I'll just let you speak. Yeah, I'll let you speak,
Okay.
and if there's something.
Okay, that sounds good. Good afternoon. My name is Nathan Connect. I'm an architect, owner of Connect Architecture, and working with Jesse, Jean, and Vicky on this project. Is there a chance, Dana, you can just put the site plan up? I think I'll just start in on, programmatically as an architect, while it is a single-family residence, it's a uniquely single-family residence in that we have 3 generations. So we have Vicky, and we have Justin, and we have his children. So in a lot of ways, as you can see in the site plan, there's kind of three wings. There's an east wing, a west wing, a north wing, and each one of those wings is kind of developed to house that generation and their particular needs. That's on the second level. We decided to do a two-story house partly because it reduces the footprint, the impact of land movement. We're also kind of tight up there. You can see a lot of slope around both down and up around the site. Also, there's a tree to the east that we refer to as the mother tree. There's grandmother trees also on the property, but this mother tree was significant to keep. So our footprint is actually quite small. So we realized we would have to build 2 stories. One thing not mentioned about the eco block, or 2 things, it is locally sourced material and manufactured in Golden. Lisa Morey is actually she's the owner of Colorado Earth, who produces those blocks. She was the connection for us to meet. It's also a more or less fireproof material. There's other ways that fire could get into the structure, obviously, but the eco block itself is a fireproof material, so it's a good choice for these mountains, especially with proper fire mitigation. The house should really stand to a wildfire. That all being said, yes, the 3,000 square feet gets eaten up very quickly. The lower level is a family room, kitchen, living, dining, and Jean works from home. Her therapy practice is from home, so we have an office for her in the house. Beyond the footprint, the 2 stories, that eats up the 3,000. Oh yeah, so then the outbuildings, they have a strong intention to be stewards of this land. I think Jean's, Vicky's background up there, also his current work commitments show that they want to actually help start to make this a healthier piece of land. And there is quite a lot of mitigation that can be done for many years to come. So that outbuilding, that forestry building really is there to have splitter, chipper, a mule, so that they can have a lighter impact on getting around the property. There is an existing road cut close to where we actually are building the site that allows them access further into the property. That road cut is by no means developed to county standards, so it wasn't really viable to use it. We really needed a new road cut. And so then I'll sort of move into just the collaborative effort that's gone in thus far to get where we are today. And I was joking with my wife. I got this new watch, and it tracks my sleep. And last night I lost a couple hours of sleep kind of trying to cover all the possible things that we could talk about today, because like Commissioner Loachamin, I wasn't exactly sure what the main concerns were. I know we felt like we had addressed the visibility issue. We definitely addressed those with the neighbor, Doug McKenna, who did come back to write a letter of support. Liz also talked to Doug because he has the same conservation easement, so it felt like together we were able to ease his concerns. And then the PSM, that was always a concern from the beginning. The collaboration between the land use department, I believe, also involved the attorneys from the conservation easement side and the land use side to kind of decide how we handle the PSM versus the conservation easement. It was decided to let the conservation easement, I believe, kind of dictate how we approach the square footage on the property. As an architect, I really prefer it all to be residential floor area versus labeling the forestry building as non-residential. It's 2 different code books that then I have to deal with to design. Yeah, coming in and myself trying to decide, okay, what are the major concerns if we've addressed visibility and we're addressing the PSM. Also, a large portion of our PSM did pick up the town of Peaceful Valley, so we have like 3,000 square foot lots with 500 square foot cabins on it. So I kind of felt grateful that the conservation easement could guide this one. Yeah, so working with the conservation easement, something they started before they bought the land, site selection was kind of the first process. And as you saw, we had those 3 building sites. I believe we've chosen the closest building site, even though some of the remarks made it sound like building site 1 was a little closer. Building site 2 really only had the flattest site. It also had the best solar aspect to get a passive solar home, which is another aspect of building with eco-block, is to have a passive solar house design. East-west lengthwise, a lot of south orientation. Another reason we went 2 stories was to get a good aspect for our roof. It's also why we chose an 812 pitch, bringing us to that 29-foot height so that we could get a good pitch for solar panels and solar thermal in this case. So site 2 was selected, and once we do that, there's so many pieces and time and money that was spent to work on this. We've met with a well driller, we've met with a septic engineer. Obviously, we had to hire a civil engineer to do the road calculations. We've paid them almost $15,000 to get a full road design at this point in the process, which is unique but often necessary with such a undeveloped, complex site. We have our Excel application in for new and temporary power. They're working on a design right now. It's by far the closest site to existing power. We can go underground from the pole versus having to add overhead poles, which either other site would have required. We work closely with our pre-application planner before submitting. We work closely with Liz. We met on site with Kyle McCaddy and Liz, the wildfire mitigator. There was a lot of discussion about what wildfire mitigation would do to the visibility, and Kyle really influenced the location of that forestry garage, as well as approved the location of the house to maintain no visibility from the existing stand of trees. And that maybe was the original point of confusion about visibility, is that it's hard nowadays to say that a stand of trees can make something invisible versus hiding behind the mountain. That makes more sense. But in this scenario, we have healthy trees. We'll hopefully maintain a healthy forest, and as long as that's the case, these structures are going to remain hidden from peak to peak highway. Let's see, was there anything else that I wanted to do here? Yeah, no, I think that covers it. Jean, would you like to say anything?
My name is Jean Leonard, and I am part of the family, part of the project. And maybe what I'll just close with is I was reflecting truly the 2 questions we have come back to throughout this entire process, from those first conversations with Melissa Arnold in the CE office before Liz took her position and she moved up, is what is in compliance with the conservation easement and what will have the least impact on the land and the ecosystem. And it's just been such a joy to be up there on the land and connect. We have these emerging relationships with grandmother trees and, aspen trees that I can't even get my arms around, and I've never seen trees that big before. And the opportunity to live that close to a piece of land and be able to really intimately know it and care for it, and to have the equipment to do so, feels like a real joy, and to be part of not just preserving that piece of land for our family, but really for the Colorado family, and that commitment to preserve the view shed along the entire peak to peak is really dear to our hearts. So thank you so much for your time and care and letting us share a little bit about this project.
Thank you. Any questions from commissioners?
No questions, thank you.
None from me, thank you.
Thank you so much. That takes us to our public comment period. Are there any members of the public that are signed up to comment this afternoon? Not seeing anyone in the room, we'll just wait one moment to see if anyone in the virtual audience would want to raise their hand and speak. And not seeing anyone in the virtual audience raising their hand, we'll close the public hearing portion. Thank you. And we'll turn it back over to staff for any closing remarks.
I don't think I have any.
Thank
so
you.
much.
And we'll turn it over to the applicant for any final remarks that you all would like to make.
Doesn't look like we have any other.
Thank you. Any questions from commissioners that anything is prompted that we wanted to get on the record?
No, thank
Great.
you.
All right, we'll close the public hearing and turn it over to the commissioners for deliberation. Would anyone like to get us started off?
I'm happy to get us started off. Thank you. Thank you to staff for all the information. And the questions that I had were connected to that PSM and just trying to understand the timing and which one guides. I heard the applicants talking about like using the conservation easement as guiding. The way I was interpreting the conservation easement language was that the square footage may be decided at the time using the code at that time, and so that was that's what I was wanting to hear, and so that helps me. I'm leaning towards upholding the director's determination for this piece, so that's just where I'm at right now.
Thanks, Commissioner Levy.
Yeah, thank you. That's where I am as well. I originally did vote to call this up because of the correspondence that we had received with concerns about whether the conservation easement was really being interpreted to the letter. And I feel it really is important to be very strict in that interpretation, just to be consistent with expectations at the time. And but in subsequent correspondence, I'm satisfied that we are in compliance with the terms of the conservation easement, and as staff noted, it was a negotiated square footage that was allowed. It preceded our presumptive size maximum, and so I'm prepared to support the staff recommendation.
Thank you, and I agree, and just want to thank everyone for their due diligence, all the commenters, all the, applicants, the staff, everyone for working so hard together on this. So thank you. Is there a motion for us to consider?
I'm happy to move approval of item 9A, docket SPR-23-0093, Don McVeigh residence and accessory structures by doing an upholding the director's determination on the same docket.
And I will second that motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
The only piece that I just want to put in the record in the conversation is, for me, after I saw the call up and that it was coming towards, I was actually really interested in reducing the square footage to the PSM, and so that was just where my mind was, and I understand the guidance of the conservation easement, and I also understand where staff's the pieces of the criteria and the analysis to get over that. So I just want to put that on the record as and I'm in agreement with where we've landed and using that conservation easement as the guiding on this particular parcel for the land that may outlive your family, but appreciate y'all being here to share the background and the story.
Thank you. Anything else?
None for me.
All right, there's a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you so much. And that is, I believe, our business for today. And so we'll see you next time.